Like, I think that's sometimes my favorite audience is like people who've never heard anything quite like this, but also understand physically like how challenging the instrument can be, and trying to show what's possible. Sometimes my favorite performances are those like really informal things, because the audience is so, they're there for, like, you really have them in the palm of your hand in a way that sometimes even someone who's paid for a ticket isn't necessarily going to be as engaged. In Buffalo, I would go down to the Illos piano shop and take 30-minute lessons with Joe Brancato for, I think when I was like in kindergarten, I started. And but he thought I was in like third grade. So he started me on a couple books ahead. So I always had a little bit of a snowball momentum going with that, and I always appreciated that. I studied with him and a few other jazz pianists in Buffalo. That was like my main instrument before I picked up bass, and I still accompany my students on recitals, and I love, actually, probably like one of my favorite things is doing collaborative piano, because the notes are all there and you don't have to worry about playing in tune. When I got into the public school system, fourth grade, I started on cello. So I picked up the cello. All I wanted to do was play Wipeout, and my dad fashioned like a little piezo pickup. He's an engineer, and he made a little pickup, and we puttied it onto the bridge so I could play Wipeout on the morning announcements. And that was like what I really wanted to do. And so then I ended up in middle school switching from cello to bass because I wanted to do more jazz and improvised stuff. And and my dad plays guitar, jazz guitar, not professionally, but so there were just kind of opportunities in the family to make music together when I switched from cello to bass. I did that. I made that switch in, I guess, when I went to middle school. I loved orchestra playing, and I still do enjoy it. And I hit a point where, from doing civic, I kind of learned what the schedule was like and how exhausting it is. And, it's a little bit in the box. Like you're doing an art, but it doesn't necessarily feel creative. And so when I arrived in grad school, I was still kind of thinking like orchestra it's the job. And but when I got to Yale, it was like the focus was on contemporary music, chamber music, and kind of like being creative. I was hanging out with a lot more composers and people outside of music as well, in the art school and the drama school. And so it was an interesting transition that's like, oh, there's this other side of things. And there's somewhat of, not, I wouldn't say the pipeline, but a lot of the students there kind of move into New York and freelance and follow careers that aren't just like try to go win a job and define your life by that. feel like as a performer and a composer, I kind of have to, my work isn't done until everyone's heard the pieces 6 times, you know? And so there's certain ones that I play almost every show. So I'll be playing some of my Daft Punk Chaconne as an opening, which I always feel is a good way to kind of, it makes audiences think, oh, I didn't know the bass could do that. There are other ways of perceiving this instrument other than a big cello. And so hopefully it's kind of an opening of their perspective. And then I'll be doing my Concerto after Haydn, just the slow movement and the first movement, kind of second movement, first movement, which is a recreation of Haydn's Lost Bass Concerto, which was actually a project, it was my senior thesis at Northwestern with Robert Yertigan as an advisor. So I've been playing that for a long time, and I love that piece, and it's still evolving. But kind of, you know, the thought with this music is like, it's all stuff probably, unless you've been to a show before of mine, like it's stuff you've never heard before. So, you know, the Daft Punk, it's my own piece. The Concerto after Haydn, it's my own piece, but it's in a model composition, so it's older style. So it sounds old, but it's new. And that gives you a really unique opportunity to kind of create an experience that's unique and treat the music like it's a living thing. And we don't have to kind of go to the corpse and breathe life back into it. It's still alive and it still changes. Every performance is a little different. I'll be premiering a piece by Chris Rogerson called Arietta. And this is a new arrangement of it for solo bass that I've created with him. And we went to high school together. It's been really cool. Like he's had this amazing career as a composer, working with young concert artists, and he teaches at Curtis now. And I've always admired his like work, and really excited to collaborate on this piece. But it's a very beautiful piece. It's like unaccompanied Bach, but a little Renaissance-y, a little bit Americana, super resonant, and really excited to share that. And so that'll kind of be, you eat your steak and your potatoes, and that one is like a little bit like what do they call them? The middle course, and a little espresso or something. And then I'll be doing a brand new piece that I wrote. This will be the premiere. It's called The Beehive. And it's, I'd written a piece for ISB for their solo competition a few years ago called Apple Tree. And I kind of imagine that as becoming a suite. So I've been writing more movements over the years. And so this is another movement for that. And it'll be fun eventually, like the piece. If you play Apple Tree, there's a moment in the piece where, if you can envision the tree, like the branch just snaps. And I thought, okay, well, usually if you're writing a suite or something like that, people think of it like it's chronological. This happens and then this happens. I was like, what if there's like a meanwhile piece? Meanwhile, like in that tree, when the branch cracked, there was a beehive. And so this is kind of, it takes a little bit of like point of departure from that piece, and spins off into this other thing that's, investigating, for me, like kind of the geometry of the Beehive, as well as like the kind of almost quasi-religious, like the dance of the bees. And so, yeah, it's a pretty fun kind of scherzo-esque piece. Really excited to be joined by Liz Dorman for our first collaboration on that. And, you use some extended techniques. And it's one of those pieces where I feel bad giving it to the pianist because I've been playing it on piano for a year now. And the process was like, I played it until I figured out exactly kind of the form of it all. And then I recorded it with a click track and transcribed it and put it all together. But the bass part is mostly just slash notation because I'm not fully improvising, but I know like this happens here and this happens there. But it's too time consuming sometimes to write it out, what the bass is doing, until I perform the piece a few times. Because I feel like, it won't really be clear what I want the piece to be until it has some performing legs. So I feel like, after I've got a performance this week and next week of the piece, and then it's like, okay, now I'm going to see, did that work? Did this work? Do I want to change things a little bit? So it's a premiere, but like the bass part is just slash notation. So I'll end the set then with the Samuel Coleridge-Taylor Variations in B minor. We might go Attacca. We probably won't. I might discuss it, but it's a really gorgeous piece, originally for cello and piano. A set of variations. I liked it originally because like it sounds like Puccini, but it's chamber music, and like we don't get to do that very much. And the harmonic world is so rich and like lots of ninth chords and really heavy chromaticism that you don't find in Bottesini. But it's also nice because the piece, it doesn't have arpeggios, it doesn't have any kind of double stops, it doesn't feel very cellistic, if that's even a word. So it translates very well to bass, and so I'm really excited. I've played it a few times, but it's again like you don't really feel like you know the piece until you played it a bunch. So I'm just really excited to play that one. There's the activity at the margins, and if we can kind of push those margins wider, it makes more room for like the center of it to be interesting and creative. And, so I feel like even if I'm not, doing an orchestral career, like by kind of pushing the boundaries of what the bass can do, it's hopefully going to help open up some other opportunities in the long run. And, when you work with composers and you're kind of like showing them that this instrument can be a lot more than just, boom of the boom chick. And, then you end up, I think, hopefully creating opportunities down the line for the instrument.